Everything just changed in British politics, and it happened faster than anyone could have predicted. Just moments ago, King Charles made a move so bold, so unprecedented, it has shaken Westminster to its core. Not only has the King stepped out of his traditional role, but he has handed a direct line of power and influence to Nigel Farage, the man many thought was finished politically. And the reaction? Keir Starmer lost his composure on live TV, erupting in frustration as the grip on his leadership slipped through his fingers. This isn't just another political story. It's a seismic shift that could change the future of the United Kingdom forever. What exactly happened behind those closed palace doors? How did the monarchy, long seen as neutral, come to embrace Farage's vision for Britain? And what does this mean for Starmer's collapsing Labour Party? Stay with me, because this political earthquake is far from over. In the heart of Buckingham Palace, a meeting took place that no one saw coming, and yet its consequences are being felt across the entire country. King Charles, known for his careful diplomacy and preference for tradition, quietly invited Nigel Farage for a private discussion about Britain's future. This wasn't a casual chat or a simple royal handshake. It was a strategic, deeply significant conversation that sent shockwaves through the corridors of power. For decades, the monarchy has maintained a strict stance of political neutrality, but this moment signalled something far more powerful. A quiet endorsement of Farage's ideas and a symbolic transfer of influence from the established political order to the outsider. The implications are massive. Farage, once dismissed by many as a fringe populist, is now sitting down with the king himself, gaining a level of access that the Labour leader Keir Starmer has long been denied. This private meeting was about more than polite conversation. It focused on the nation's most pressing issues: sovereignty, immigration, energy independence and foreign policy. Sources close to the palace reveal that King Charles praised Farage's clarity and vision, a tacit approval that carries weight far beyond words. In a political landscape starved for leadership, this gesture sent a powerful message. Nigel Farage matters now, and so do his ideas. Across Westminster, the news dropped like a bombshell. Labour officials scrambled to contain the fallout, knowing full well that this royal interaction could spell disaster for Starmer's already fragile position. Within hours, the opposition leader was seen on live television, visibly shaken and struggling to hold back his anger. The carefully crafted image of calm and competence cracked under pressure as Starmer attempted to dismiss the meeting as mere speculation. But the public saw through the facade. The King's involvement with Farage wasn't just news, it was a clear signal that the establishment is shifting beneath Starmer's feet. Behind the scenes, Labour's inner circle was thrown into chaos. Internal memos leaked revealing a growing panic about what strategists now call the Farage royal optic. It's a term that captures the power of perception in politics, where control of the narrative can determine victory or defeat. These documents warn that Farage's rising profile, boosted by his private royal meeting, could sway critical voter blocs, especially in Labour's must-win red wall constituencies. Starmer's team is desperate for damage control strategies, but with each passing hour, it feels like they're fighting a losing battle. The British public's reaction has been electric. Social media exploded with support for Farage, while memes mocking Starmer's faltering composure flooded timelines. Polls have begun to show a dramatic shift, with Reform UK surging ahead in areas once considered Labour strongholds. It's not just a political upset, it's a revolution in how people view leadership and trust. The King's meeting has transformed Farage from a political outsider into a credible figure with the Crown's indirect blessing, while Starmer's image crumbles under the weight of failure and frustration. This moment is more than a political story. It's a symbol of a changing nation. The old rules are breaking down. The monarchy, long silent in political matters, has taken a side, quietly but unmistakably. And for Keir Starmer, this could be the beginning of the end. As power slips away, the question remains: can Starmer find a way to regain control? Or is this the dawn of a new political era ruled by Farage and his vision for Britain? The stakes have never been higher, and the battle for the soul of the country is just beginning. The unprecedented meeting between King Charles and Nigel Farage has ignited a political firestorm unlike anything Britain has seen in recent memory. For decades, the British monarchy has carefully navigated the delicate balance of neutrality, avoiding any direct involvement in political affairs to preserve its symbolic role as the unifying figurehead of the nation. However, the decision by King Charles to grant Farage such direct access signals a seismic shift in this long-standing tradition. This is no ordinary endorsement. It represents a tacit acknowledgement of Farage's political relevance and the urgency of his vision for the United Kingdom's future. The King's intervention, subtle yet powerful, has the potential to reshape the political landscape, elevating Farage's influence and undermining Keir Starmer's leadership at a critical moment. This moment must be understood in the broader context of British politics today, a landscape marked by deep divisions and uncertainty. Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, has struggled to assert control over a party fractured by internal dissent and plagued by questions over his ability to connect with voters. His leadership has been marked by a cautious approach that, while measured, has often failed to inspire enthusiasm or confidence. Meanwhile, Farage, once dismissed as a fringe populist, has methodically built a formidable base by tapping into the frustrations of voters who feel neglected by the political establishment. Farage's rise has been fueled by his relentless criticism of mainstream parties and his unyielding advocacy for national sovereignty and immigration reform. The King's choice to meet with Farage at such a pivotal moment is more than symbolic. It is a stark acknowledgement of these shifting political currents. The details emerging from this meeting have only deepened the intrigue. According to sources close to the palace, the discussion centred on urgent national concerns: the future of Brexit, the crisis in immigration policy, the nation's energy independence, and Britain's role on the global stage. Farage presented his vision with clarity and conviction, resonating with King Charles's own long-standing views on these issues. The King's approval, expressed through both words and the very act of this private audience, lends Farage a legitimacy that few politicians outside Parliament enjoy. For Farage, this moment is the culmination of years of positioning himself as the voice of the disenfranchised, and now he has the tacit backing of the Crown itself. The political ramifications are immense. The Labour Party's reaction was immediate and intense, with Starmer visibly rattled in subsequent media appearances. Attempts to downplay the significance of the meeting failed to quell the growing perception of a power shift at the highest levels of governance. Inside Labour, the mood has turned from cautious concern to outright panic. Leaked communications reveal a party scrambling to counter what they now see as an existential threat posed by Farage's rising profile. Strategic discussions focus on how to regain the narrative and prevent defections, but the growing support for Reform UK among key voter demographics presents an uphill battle. This is especially true in the so-called Red Wall constituencies, traditional Labour heartlands, where Farage's message of national renewal is gaining traction at an alarming rate. Social media has become a battleground for public opinion. Supporters of Farage have seized on the King's meeting as validation of their cause, flooding platforms with hashtags and posts celebrating this unexpected alliance. Meanwhile, Labour supporters express frustration and disbelief, struggling to come to terms with the scale of the challenge. Polls conducted since the announcement show a notable shift in voter sentiment, with Reform UK surging in popularity and Labour's numbers declining. This volatile atmosphere underscores the fragile nature of Starmer's position and the growing appeal of Farage's populist message. For many voters, the King's gesture signals a break from the status quo and a desire for decisive leadership in uncertain times. The long-term consequences of this royal endorsement are difficult to predict, but cannot be underestimated. By aligning, even indirectly, with Farage, King Charles has entered a new era in which the monarchy's role in politics may be more influential than ever before. This development raises profound questions about the future relationship between the Crown and the government, and whether the traditional boundaries of royal neutrality can be maintained. For Starmer and the Labour Party, the challenge is daunting. They must now confront a political environment where the Crown's implicit support for their opponents undermines their authority and complicates their efforts to present a united front. As the nation watches these events unfold, the political atmosphere is charged with tension and anticipation. The King's meeting with Farage is not simply a private conversation, it is a turning point with the potential to reshape Britain's political future. Keir Starmer's eruption in response to this power shift was more than a moment of personal frustration. It symbolised the broader struggle for control in a country grappling with change. This confrontation between tradition and populism, establishment and outsider, marks the beginning of a new chapter in British politics, one in which the balance of power is being questioned and the future remains uncertain. The battle lines are drawn, and the outcome will depend on how these forces evolve in the weeks and months to come. The ripple effects from King Charles's unprecedented meeting with Nigel Farage continue to escalate, sending shockwaves through the corridors of power and across the political spectrum. This moment has unleashed a cascade of reactions, strategic recalculations, and mounting tensions that reveal how fragile the current political order really is. Farage's newfound legitimacy, bolstered by the King's subtle but unmistakable nod, has emboldened his supporters and alarmed his opponents, particularly within Labour, where Keir Starmer now faces a mounting crisis of confidence. This is no longer just a battle for party leadership or policy direction. It has morphed into a struggle for the very soul of British politics. The Conservative Party, caught between internal divisions and dwindling public support, has also been affected by the royal endorsement of Farage. While the Conservatives have traditionally been the party closest to the monarchy, recent years have exposed fractures within their ranks, especially over issues like Brexit and immigration. Farage's rise and the King's engagement with him have added fuel to the fire, forcing Conservative MPs to reassess their positions and allegiances. Some see Farage as a potential kingmaker, or even a future coalition partner, while others fear his populist rhetoric risks further alienating moderate voters and deepening political instability. The Crown's indirect involvement has thus exacerbated existing party tensions, complicating efforts to present a unified front against Labour. Farage's supporters view the meeting as a vindication of their long-standing demands for national sovereignty and a tougher stance on immigration. For them, King Charles's willingness to engage with Farage signals recognition of the deep grievances felt by many ordinary Britons who believe the political establishment has ignored their concerns for too long. The surge in Reform UK's membership and social media activity following the announcement is unprecedented, demonstrating how the party's anti-establishment message resonates in a country fatigued by political scandals, economic uncertainty, and cultural divisions. This momentum places immense pressure on Starmer, whose leadership style has often been seen as cautious and pragmatic, to adapt or risk being left behind. Inside Labour, the atmosphere is one of urgency and unease. Starmer's team has launched a series of internal reviews aimed at shoring up support and redefining the party's message. Yet these efforts are hampered by the very public nature of the crisis, which has emboldened dissenters and prompted whispers of leadership challenges. The spectre of mass defections looms large, with some MPs reportedly contemplating switching allegiance to Reform UK or other emerging parties. The internal strife threatens to overshadow Labour's policy agenda and undermines its ability to present itself as a credible alternative government. Starmer's public displays of frustration, including his vehement media appearances following the King's meeting with Farage, highlight the immense pressure he faces and the fragility of his position. The media landscape has become a battlefield of competing narratives. Traditional outlets, some aligned with the establishment and others with populist causes, have framed the King's meeting in vastly different ways. Supporters of the monarchy and Reform UK portray it as a necessary intervention in a time of national crisis, a symbolic gesture affirming the values of sovereignty and democratic renewal. Critics warn of a dangerous blurring of constitutional boundaries, raising alarms about the monarchy's impartiality and the risk of escalating political polarisation. This clash of narratives plays out daily across television, print and digital platforms, shaping public perception and fueling the growing sense of uncertainty and instability. Public opinion polls reflect this volatility. The rapid rise of Reform UK, now challenging Labour and the Conservatives in key constituencies, signals a profound realignment of voter loyalties. Many voters express frustration with traditional parties, citing perceived failures on immigration control, economic policy, and national identity. The King's meeting with Farage is viewed by some as a hopeful sign of change, and by others as a troubling sign of political upheaval. This split illustrates the deep divisions within British society, where long-standing assumptions about governance, loyalty and power are being questioned more intensely than ever before. On the international stage, the implications are equally significant. Allies and rivals alike are watching Britain closely, aware that this shift in internal dynamics could affect foreign policy, trade negotiations, and the country's role in global affairs. The King's involvement adds a new dimension to diplomatic relations, signalling a monarchy that is more actively engaged in shaping the nation's future than previously seen. Farage's growing influence raises questions about how Britain will navigate its post-Brexit identity and its alliances moving forward. This uncertainty has caused concern among European partners, as well as within the Commonwealth and NATO, where stability in the UK is often considered a linchpin of broader geopolitical equilibrium. As the drama unfolds, the stakes for Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage could not be higher. Starmer's ability to regroup, reconnect with disillusioned voters, and restore confidence within Labour will determine whether he can survive this political storm. Meanwhile, Farage's challenge is to maintain his momentum, convert symbolic royal backing into concrete political gains, and expand his appeal beyond his core supporters. The King's intervention has shifted the balance of power in ways few anticipated, setting the stage for a turbulent and unpredictable chapter in British politics. This is no longer a conventional contest between parties. It is a dramatic confrontation over the direction and identity of the nation itself. As the political earthquake triggered by King Charles's unprecedented move continued to shake Westminster, the fallout within Labour became increasingly severe. Inside the party's corridors of power, tensions reached a boiling point. Senior Labour MPs and strategists, once confident in their carefully crafted campaign plans, were now scrambling to contain the damage. The royal endorsement of Nigel Farage was not just a blow to Starmer's leadership, it was a direct challenge to the very foundation of Labour's political identity. Farage's sudden rise, fuelled by the King's quiet but powerful gesture, exposed deep fractures within the Labour base that had long been ignored or underestimated. Traditional supporters felt alienated by Starmer's centrist approach, and the palace's signal only reinforced the perception that the party was out of touch with the real concerns of ordinary voters. Leaked internal memos revealed an atmosphere of panic and recrimination. One note circulating among Labour's inner circle bluntly stated that Starmer's team was losing the narrative and facing an existential threat. The Farage royal optic, as it came to be known, was more than just a PR disaster. It was a shift in the political battleground that Labour was ill-prepared to fight. MPs whispered about potential leadership challenges, with some openly criticising Starmer's failure to anticipate Farage's resurgence and the palace's willingness to engage with him. Meanwhile, party donors, sensing instability, began pulling back support, and union leaders, traditionally Labour's backbone, started voicing doubts. The coalition that Starmer had painstakingly built was unravelling just as the country prepared. For the next general election, public reaction amplified this internal crisis. Social media became a battleground where the royal meeting with Farage was dissected, debated, and celebrated by Reform UK supporters, while Labour's online presence grew defensive and muted. Memes mocking Starmer's on-air meltdown circulated widely, and hashtags praising Farage surged across platforms. Polls began to reflect this momentum shift, with Reform UK climbing steadily, surpassing Labour in several key constituencies. This wasn't just a protest vote anymore, it was a seismic realignment of voter loyalties. Undecided voters, the crucial swing bloc, started gravitating toward Farage's message of national sovereignty and straightforward politics. Values they felt were lacking from Labour's platform. The symbolism of the King's endorsement couldn't be overstated. While the monarchy does not intervene in politics, The act of privately consulting and seemingly valuing Farage's counsel sent a clear message. It was a tacit recognition that the political status quo was broken, and that Farage represented a voice the establishment could no longer ignore. This moment shattered the illusion of Starmer as the unshakable leader and positioned Farage as a legitimate force in British politics, emboldened by royal recognition. Farage himself capitalised on the moment, projecting calm confidence and a renewed sense of purpose. His message resonated with a population weary of political uncertainty and looking for a bold alternative. Meanwhile, Starmer's attempts to regain control only seemed to deepen the crisis. Public appearances showed a man increasingly defensive, struggling to maintain composure under pressure. His answers to questions about the King's meeting and Farage's influence were evasive and lacked conviction. This vulnerability further undermined his image as a steady, reliable leader. Labour's communication strategy shifted from aggressive rebuttals to damage limitation, an admission that the party was on the back foot. Behind closed doors, senior staff debated whether Starmer's vision for a moderate, consensus-driven Labour could survive this storm, or whether a more radical recalibration was needed to stem the bleeding. The impact on Labour's electoral prospects was immediate and stark. The red wall seats, critical battlegrounds that Labour must reclaim to form a government, showed worrying signs of slipping away. Campaigners reported increased enthusiasm for Reform UK among working-class voters who once formed Labour's core support. This shift was not just about policy differences, it was a profound loss of trust. Voters no longer saw Starmer as a champion of their interests, but as a disconnected politician, failing to understand their daily struggles. Farage's rise, with the King's subtle backing, had turned the political tide, forcing Labour into a defensive posture rarely seen in modern British politics. As the crisis deepened, whispers of leadership challenges grew louder. While Starmer remained officially unchallenged, the atmosphere within the party was volatile. Some factions argued that only a dramatic change in leadership could restore confidence and halt the party's decline. Others warned that such upheaval might further fracture Labour and alienate moderate voters. The uncertainty at the top only compounded the sense of chaos below, with local party branches and activists increasingly disillusioned. The coalition of interests that had held Labour together under Starmer's leadership was showing signs of fraying, leaving the party vulnerable at a moment when unity was desperately needed. This section of the story is a stark reminder of how quickly political fortunes can shift and how fragile leadership can be when confronted with unexpected challenges. The King's quiet but seismic intervention not only elevated Nigel Farage, but also exposed the vulnerabilities of Keir Starmer and his Labour Party. The battle for Britain's future was no longer a simple contest between traditional parties, but a complex and volatile struggle for control over the country's identity, values and direction. As the dust settled on this historic upheaval, one thing was clear. The political landscape in the UK had been forever altered, and the consequences would be felt for years to come. The unfolding political drama is far from over, and its consequences will ripple through every corner of the UK for years to come. What happens next depends on how you engage with this historic moment. Stay informed, question the narratives, and make your voice heard. Whether you support Starmer, Farage, or neither, the choices made now will shape the future of British democracy. Don't let this critical time pass by without your attention. Follow trusted news, participate in discussions, and prepare for what could be the most defining political chapter of our generation. The power to influence the outcome rests with the people. Are you ready to take a stand?